invite you all to stand there. July 29th, please come out to support it. We will do a fall market and that information will be forthcoming. Don't forget that we'll have another series of the music series, another event that will be held at the Manly Gardens. That can all be found on our Facebook page. So it was an enjoyable evening the last time, so come out again this time and check it out. So I want to thank Mayor Blankenship. He's been doing these as either a coffee and conversation or as a state of the city address for us since he's been in office. And so I do appreciate him coming out and giving everybody an update on the city and what's happening. So I'm going to turn it over to the mayor.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank y'all for coming. I love the opportunity to be able to present, tell what's going on, and present the facts the way they really are. And I want to say a special thank you to Heather. We have worked on this for weeks. It takes a lot of work to put this together. You know, I have all these ideas and she puts it in slideshow form, and then I have to come up with talking points. And also Joey, our IT guy, who is not here, but I hope we don't need him, but we'll see what happens. But we do have a lot going on. This is a big, long presentation, and we've removed several things. It would have been a lot longer than this. But I'm going to start out and talk about some numbers. And I think everybody knows that we have a 9% sales tax in the city of Ozark. It's extremely important to realize that that 4% tax is basically what we live off of in the city of Ozark, except a 0.5% of that goes to the university school system. And what happened there when we changed from 8 to 9% years ago, the schools lobbied for half of that, for 0.5% to go towards school, the building of the new school. And it was approved. The issue with that is that school will be paid off in 27. The way the agreement reads, that ends. We don't pay that anymore. So that'll be something the city council and the school board has to address. And the interesting part about this is when that was approved, when the school was, right before the school was built, that 1.327 million was $750,000. So it has continued to increase over the years. I want to tell you a little bit about our budget. We're now at about a $19 million budget, and that does not include, like we run our EMS services as a separate standalone business. It's about 2.6 million. Some other things like our shopping center down here across the street, it's a standalone business, so that doesn't get commingled with the general fund. Of course, our gas tax, special funds like the COVID funds that everybody just went through the last few years, and of course our grant funds. We do all of what we do with about 170 full-time employees and about 65 part-time or seasonal employees. So it's a lot of people, a lot of great people working on these projects. This is gives you some idea from 18, 19, the last 6 years of what our revenue has done. We contribute, or I contribute a lot of this to when COVID hit, people started staying at home, shopping online, and we're continuing to see this grow. If I use the term SSUT, that is Simplified Seller's Use Tax. When I was with the county, we passed that statewide as an internet sales tax. We didn't want to call it sales tax because there's so many counties throughout the state that don't get sales tax money, like Dale County. All of the sales tax in Dale County goes to the Dale County School District. So that's the reason county government was trying to call it something different to where they would have access to that money. But that has continued to really grow. There's we put several new businesses in that are really helping. Probably the two that helps the most is Farm Systems and Dunham Sports, because both of those businesses they sell products that you couldn't hardly buy in Ozark prior to them. So that's really a positive thing right there. This is something that we talk about a lot. This is a 2-year-old slide that Retail Strategies out of Birmingham did for us. And what this does is it totally does away with what we used to call our population. The 15,000 or whatever you want to call it means nothing anymore. When I talk to folks like the car wash people and the Taco Bell people, the only number they're interested in is that 29,654. They said those people are here today, and that's who's going to be doing business with us. We also use the same system through Alabama Power when we have the Crawdad Festival and Playbank Jamboree. And last year, during the Crawdad Festival, we just block off the time. We had 15,900 people here during the Crawdad, and then Playbank, the football season had started by then, so it had dropped off to about 12-6. But that is a game changer for us, and I'll tell you something that not long ago I had somebody, a business I was talking to, and one of the questions they asked is, what is your school system doing, population-wise? I said, well, I got one system that has declined, but I got two in my trade area that's increasing. He said, good answer. So we're taking advantage of this and claiming all that trade area that's out in the county. I want to go over a few things that, and I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Alabama League of Municipalities, we play a major part in dealing with them. We just went through an Economic Development Academy, something they first started, and Ozark was one of the first groups to do that. We also got an ACE accreditation, which is Alabama Community of Excellence. That all comes through the League of Municipalities. Alabama Department of Commerce, all these projects we work on, we have a contact there that are for state incentives, so we deal with them a good bit there on all the projects that we do. Participation in local boards, the Ozark Area Chamber of Commerce, probably the smartest thing we've ever done is move the chamber in here. It keeps this house up and operating. Got two museums upstairs that we're constantly having Nova Sale people here going through the Warrant Officer Museum. She also manages our farmers market from here, so we have events like this, but she's...
Tours, don't forget to say, sorry about that, but don't forget to mention Layla.
Oh, yes, Miss Lil Walden does the tours for us here. I thought we got that. One in my notes, Rosemary. The Ozark Utility Board, I serve on that, not as a voting member, but as mayor, I serve on that board. And we asked, a couple years ago, we asked the utility board to let's get more involved in funding projects. And so we have put a little program together. I'm not going to go into it. We're after so much profit, we are setting money aside. And I'll touch base on that in a few minutes on a couple of things that we've already done. Southeast Gas, I want to go over this in pretty good detail because this is such a big deal. It's a growing revenue source for the city of Ozark, and I'm going to hit some spots that I went over. There was three of us, had 4 meetings in Montgomery, and it was with the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker, and the Senate Pro Tem, 4 different meetings. But Southeast Gas, if y'all don't know, is made up and owned by 14 cities in this area, and it gives us an opportunity to get together once a month as mayors from those cities, and a couple of them have city council people serving, but it is tremendously beneficial for us to get together like that. There's 35 communities within that area. We're the largest geographically owned municipal gas company in the United States. We serve 33,000 customers. We're committed to economic development. That's the reason we were meeting with the governor's staff. I get $11,000 a year that's given to me. I can use anywhere I want to in economic development. Well, I turn it over to ODEC, and then that way, they can turn around and help me with things here in Ozark as we need it. We do some site development stuff. They have 2 economic development people that are hired that work for the board. One is a retail person, one is a commercial type guy. But the biggest benefit of this is a few years ago we created a sister company within Southeast Gas called Southeast Energy Authority. And what that is a wholesale gas and electric company to where we go out here and we try to market gas and electricity to other parts of the country. And we work with like J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, and they do the financing on it. We sell it, and we just did a project. It's called the Salt River Project in Nevada. It was a $2 billion wholesale transaction. That's the largest one ever in the United States. So it is a really big deal for us to stay engaged and work with this group. I'll come back to that in just a minute on the Southeast Gas. Regional planning, I'm also the chairman of that board. That's a board that 7 counties are involved in and all the municipalities within the counties. And they help us with things like community development block grants. We have public transit in some places. We have Head Start programs. But it's, we're doing some stuff called brownfield assessments right now. And I had 2 projects that I submitted for that and we got it. Once we do the assessment on those 2 projects, we're going to turn around and apply for money to actually do the cleanup on them. Drop down to the Ozark County Economic Development Corporation, you'll hear me call it ODEC. That was formed in 2010. When it was formed, it was made up of the Dale County Commission giving $75,000, Ozark $150,000. We since added Daleville at $12,000. When I was chairman of the commission, we went after a lodging tax that we passed that allows us to fund economic development projects. And the reason I did it from a county level rather than the mayor and Ozark and Daleville doing it, it allowed me to collect on Fort Novosel. So we get, when they rent out there on base, we get that lodging tax as well. So that has worked out great. It started out at about $75,000 or $80,000 a year. And we funded some small projects. Now that's about $115,000. In this last session, we introduced another 2-cent lodging tax that does basically the same thing except it goes to the general operation. The reason we wanted to do that is because I didn't want to have to go back to the Dale County or to the city council and ask for more money. So that gives us an additional about $115,000 a year that we're able to do. And you'll see a few things that I'll show later that we're involved in that it really helps us to be able to do those. The other problem, the reason I wanted to do it is city councils change, county commissions change, and it's also made up of some business investment too. Business owners change, so those money stand a chance to fluctuate. But city money or county money, 3 votes, they can stop it in any budget. So that helps to really supplement what we're doing. Nonprofit agencies, Heather and I spend a lot of time working with them. We do things from support letters to help them with finding grant funding and that kind of stuff. Our state and federal legislators, we have all kind of projects like RC&D funding that we get through them. The money that comes from this Holman House comes straight out of the state's general fund. It has for several years. The farmers market next door came out of the Ag Commissioner's budget, about $200,000 2 years in a row. And then tourism grants that all of the legislative and Senate folks have access to. They're constantly giving us that money for crawdad, clay bank, and those kind of things. Fort Novosel, Lori and I spend a lot of time on Novosel. We're there at almost every event they have. And in return, those people are here in Ozark for every event we have. So it's a big win-win for us. Heather and I kind of double team AUSA, and we do have our upcoming breakfast event on August the 7th at 7 a.m. at the Civic Center. And I'm calling it Novosel today, but on the 17th it'll be Fort Rucker again. That's the official change of the base name. Dale Medical Center. I can't say enough about Dale Medical Center. We have Holly Smith, myself, Reva Skirtman, and Vernon. We meet once a month, and we call it a stakeholders meeting. There's no agenda, and we just talk and try to help each other with whatever projects we got going on. But Dale Medical Center, if people don't realize it, they're debt-free, they're diversifying, they're doing things, they're making money on home health and those kind of things. And it's got them in great financial shape. We're in the process have been for 2 years working with Wallace College. It started with Linda Young and putting together a training facility at our hospital that trains medical staff, nurses and other people. That's done. We're just waiting on the funding to drop. It's about $2.9 million, but it's going to be huge for us. And we've committed to do a few things for them with the city as well. Wiregrass Forums. That is a group of Wiregrass leaders and elected officials that meet once a month at Hoppergrass. And I can't tell you how many deals have started between those people in that room and people like myself, just sitting there eating breakfast it's just amazing what a good group that is. We don't allow any media there, so we can pretty much talk and do what we want to. We don't have to worry about what happens at that point. Ozark County Schools, we work very close with them, even the county schools. I attend a lot of their events, and it goes back to what I talked about on the, with the internet, being able to track who's coming in and out of Ozark, because they're a big part of our city. Now we go back to this. This is what I was talking about, Southeast Gas. These colored in states here are where we have wholesale gas deals. Southeast Gas distribution money of $124,000. That is based on the gas consumption within each municipality. That's pretty much steady for us. We don't have any large industry that uses lots of gas like a Eufaula or Troy. They really blow us out of the water as far as gas consumption. We're probably about number 5, I guess, out of 14. But what's interesting is all of these deals, I called our office in Andalusia yesterday and I said, I want some projections. This is the 24 numbers. The 25 numbers will come out in about 2 months. The Southeast Gas number is going to stay the same. The Southeast Energy Authority, because we've done so many deals in 25 that we're not getting the money on yet, we're going to get about 25,000 of that in 25. But in 26, when all those deals have been in place for a year, that Southeast Energy Authority number is going to go to about 146. So that is a big shot in the arm for us. It's a lot of extra money. That didn't even exist like 7 or 8 years ago. So big deal. This is just showing mine and Ryan Campbell's kind of commitment that we're going to do something new every year in the downtown. Last year we put those Christmas trees up. This year we've been working on the gardens downtown, Magnolia Gardens. This thing has already had 1 concert. I know there's 3 more scheduled, but there's all kind of weddings and those kind of things that go on there. This is probably the most talked about thing that people totally misunderstand. This is our 4-cent gas tax. This is what we pave streets with. And you can see in 2016, the mayor and council did a bond issue, 2.6 million, and paved 61 streets. That is costing us $217,000 a year. We did a similar thing with the county when I was there. The only difference is we did chip seal roads at about $70,000 a mile compared to $130 a mile when they did it. So you can see how many streets we paved since 2016, 187 streets and 55.38 miles. But part of this money comes from Community Development Block Grant. We don't fool with the schedule. There's a schedule of how streets are going to be repaved. The only time that changes is a Community Development Block Grant is low income. So we have to pick a section of town where there's going to be little mobilization and we can do a large area. Last year we did Hull Street, between $400,000 and $500,000 was paid. But this, you can see we got 480 streets in Ozark, 160 total miles, so it takes a long time to get around. The one good thing is in 31, when that bond pays out, you'll either have $217,000 to go back into these each year, or we can do another bond issue and pave another 70 or 80 streets. But that's a very complicated part because the price keeps going up. And you can see Campground Road is in terrible shape and East College Street is as well, and that's what's, the letting on that is in August, so we'll hopefully be getting started on that soon. This is a trip 2 funding project that we did out on the access road, out on the highway. That is in place. That is money that somebody in the state's going to get. So if we don't go after it, it's going to another location. So we went after that. State DOT is big on access roads because it gets traffic off of 231. So we got that. We got to have it paved on either end of that there's two properties that are old gas stations. When I mentioned brownfield money a few minutes ago, that's the two that we're doing the assessment on right now to see what it's going to take to clean those up. And then we can work with the property owner, clean it up, and then hopefully be able to market that later. This is the same funding that when I was in the county, we did County Road 18 where Wayne Farms is. That was about a $2.5 million project. This is just an example of what I was talking about with the utility board. This was when we built Taco Bell. The developer called me one day and he said, Mayor, we just can't afford to put $112,000 into a sewer line that we don't own. And so I met with him and I said, get your folks to engineer the sewer line where we can pick up lot 3, Taco Bell, and lot 4, and run it around to the back of the shopping center, and let me see what I can do. So he did it, came back $112,000. So we went to the utility board and asked them for 50. I asked the Taco Bell guy, I said, will you put the 62 in if I set up a deal for 3 years where I give you 50% of your sales tax back to satisfy that $62,000? And then we went to the property owner and we said, we'll do all this and make this project work if you'll repave the parking lot when it's finished. He agreed to that, so that worked out, 4 groups involved in that, and it has really paid off. Holly has been showing that lot 3 within the last week or so. It makes it so much easier when you say that sewer line is already there. This is 2 big projects I'm extremely proud of. Dunham Sports. We did about a $700,000 incentive to the developer, which is John Watson. He did about $1.7 million worth of work with that building. But that is items that you cannot buy or could not buy in Ozark. They're doing extremely well. Their projections are almost running exactly what they thought they would be, and we're really proud of them. Andrews Place Apartments. I'd gone to the Andrews family probably 2 years ago before this happened, and I told them, I said, please give me first shot at that property. Well, one day, the son-in-law walked in and said, I'm here to sell you the property. And so we wound up, Holly and I got with John Watson, that actually started at Wiregrass Forest, and explained to them we thought it was a great place for apartment complex. We did offer some incentives. We did a long-term lease on that parking lot because we own part of it. But that has turned out to be great. There's 28 upscale apartments. We can't find anything that's been built in Ozark in the last 40 years that is close to that kind of complex. So last time I checked, that was full and doing extremely well. Matter of fact, we're looking for other properties for them now. Our EMS service, I can't say enough good about them. We're one of the few cities that have our own EMS service. And you can see, run 5 ambulances, and we have 1 transport vehicle that's not up and running yet. But we have a new location out on Parker Drive. We have 14 full-time staff members and several part-time. 100 to 135 runs a week that we make in EMS. We did 1 expansion onto one end of that building, and at some point we have to do another one. But we did something this last year that I'm really proud of. We introduced legislation doing what's called the stretch bill with EMS. It's like police and fire has, meaning on the retirement system that for every 5 years they work, they get an additional year. So we submitted that here through Steve Klaus. When it got to the state, they made it statewide legislation. So that gives us a great advantage over an Echo or a CARE or a Pilchers or anybody that we're trying to compete with on EMS service because they're not in the state retirement system. This is just where we brought Magnolia Gardens into the entertainment district. This is a map that's going to be displayed in all 4 locations that sells alcohol downstairs. And so those will go up in a few days, but you'll be able to walk anywhere in that area with an adult beverage. I can't even keep this updated because we keep selling flags. We're now at 796 flags. We've sold like 28 this last 4 or 5 days. It's doing extremely well. Our tank is being repainted as we speak, and the helicopter will be as well. Another project that we really went out on a limb to do, this is a corporate hangar that's out at the airport. We've been building T hangars and renting those hangars out to people. But I wanted to do something that would show off our airport. So I made this pitch to the airport board, and they agreed with me. Before we got too far along, I called Adam Hartzog at Dothan Airport, told him what I was wanting to do, and I said, what do you think? And he's the manager of the airport. He said, I think you're going to take one of my tenants if you build it. Well, sure enough, we got it built, and we stole the Bondi's Ford jet. It's out there in our hangar today. But the beauty of this is, about 3 weeks ago, I pulled up at the airport one day, and there's 3 of these jets parked out there, and our parking lot's completely full. This guy is our #1 salesman. He tells everybody how quick it is to get from his pickup to in that jet, and back from the jet back into his pickup. So he had 2 more buddies flying there. They had big, huge crowds with them. Our parking lot was full, so I don't know where they were going, but they flew off. Our parking lot stayed full for several days. It's a great thing. This Pro-Am Steel, and this is kind of hard for you to see, this is the company that built this hangar. That door is the first one they ever built. It's the first one anywhere in this part of the country. Since then, there's been 2 built. He can take from his jet with a remote control and let that door up and down. So he just pulls up there, shuts off, and then pulls it on in and back out. But it's great. But this company has this hangar on the back of all of their display stuff all over the world that they go and show their products. Those are hangars, and that's what that picture is showing. This is just a layout of our airport. You can see where the Bondi's spot is. There's 4 more hangar spots out there. We're actually working with some people now that we think that one of them for sure will do something at some point. So we just going to keep, doing everything we can. And on that hangar, I'll go back to that in a little bit. We get FAA money. That was an expensive hangar, about $1.4 million. But what we did was we saved some of that money up, and we accumulated that money, and then we were going to do a local loan and pay it off with our FAA money. I'll explain to you, we did it different a little later. But this is something that most people have no idea is available. There's a couple of things in the state right now that we have access to. It's called Seeds money and Growing Alabama grants. Both of those are designed to show projects ready, property ready for us to break ground and do things on. This is, last week I was on Nova Sale with the General, and they're looking at more and more to privatizing helicopter training. You go to our airport for 10 minutes, you'll see black 505 Bell helicopters flying in and out. That is CAE out of Dothan that has an Air Force training contract on the Dothan Airport. So they just do touch and goes and things on our way. This piece of property is one that I'm wanting to expand. You can see where that road dead ends, there's a gate there. And we're going to, through a Growing Alabama grant, it's going to cost us a total of $150 and $38,925. Clear that, seed it, extend the road, tie it to the apron, and that kind of thing. We're getting that ready for in case we have one of those contracts come along, somebody wants to do exactly what CAE is doing in Dothan. But the way that works, the Growing Alabama grant, is any corporation in Alabama that has a large tax liability, they can pledge half of that tax liability to a project that we have going, as long as it's approved by the state and by the corporation. So Synovus Bank has agreed to fund $150,000 of tax credits and pay on this project. Another one is, I mentioned Ozark and then having additional money to do additional things. We bought this piece of property, as the Ozark Corporation did, for the school system back a couple of years ago. Well, Motoville's been wanting to expand, but this property is so grown up, you can't even walk through it. So we put this plan together, and basically all we're doing is clearing and going to seed over it. But on this 24,856, same thing, Alabama Power has agreed to fund that. And this is an example of one that we've already done. This is in the industrial park on 231. REA did a $221,000 grant for us there, and we were able to put new street lights up, we cleared the timber, we grassed it, we put this new billboard up, and we now own, so we can change the billboard, we only have to pay for the cost to put it up. So it's, we have people, matter of fact, next Wednesday, meeting with a company that has interest in doing an expansion out there. One of the things that we've worked on probably for 2 years, that's probably the biggest thing we got coming. This section here is the old Bell helicopter property. This section here was the Bell property that is now ours, because they constructed this hangar on the city of Ozark property. The dividing line is about right here. So Bell wanted to continue leasing this. We would not agree to leasing them that unless they were willing to sell this to an aviation company. Let me back up. When they first announced they were closing and going to sell, I immediately went to the planning commission, had this rezoned to where it's got to be an aviation-related company. It's a great thing we did, because shortly thereafter, one of the companies tried to buy that building. It would have been a disaster for our airport. So we have a process, we have a lease agreement for the part that Bell wants. The Bell-owned property, we have it under contract with a company called RMCI, and that is a great company out of Huntsville. We're hoping to close that just any time now, and that's going to be a great thing for our aviation college, because they're planning on training aviation people, and aviation people will be able to train some of their people. So we really hope we can pull that off. That's just another picture of those buildings from a different angle. This is an expansion that we just renegotiated our Brittany Times agreement, and part of that negotiation, we took back 4.6 acres. We turned around last meeting, we approved to sell that for an expansion to Ecor. They're going to build a 50,000 square foot building in the back section of the property, and that is, their property joins that, so it'll just be a big benefit to them. This next project is showing you some of the sites that we have in Ozark. You probably never see these. These are already approved on our demo list. We budget about $140,000 a year to demo and to do weed lean type stuff. This is an example of what happens when we demo them. Sometimes those lots turn into other projects. This one down here that says John Harper Development, that is a big project across from the aviation school that he's working on. And you can see the little layout of the property, and this goes from, that's what used to be the old breakers that's been demoed. So there'll be an access on 231, and you got to access Lakeview Road. So this is going to be like a mixed-use development, and it will be hopefully like hotel on the front and retail and residential on the back side. But we're continuing to work on that with Mr. Harper and his group. This is 2 projects that we've just completed. This is the batting cages we have behind Eagle Stadium. The school system wanted to enclose them, so we did a partnership with them. They provided the money, and we handled the kind of overseeing of the construction, but it's turning out really nice. We've got a few more things to do. That's the backside of Flower Center. We're not completely done with that, but that was the part of Flowers that was in such bad shape it was dangerous. I mean, the building was like walking across the trampoline floor when you went in there, full of asbestos, and people were going in there cutting copper out and stealing stuff out of it. So we took part of our demo money and abated the asbestos and then demoed that, and we still got a little cleanup work to do. All right, this is where we get interested. This is looking forward to things that we got going on. This is the property that we purchased for the sports complex. But this is so much bigger than a sports complex. This is about growing the north end of the town. And if you'll see right here, this doesn't show up here, but this is the property that Adelaar Parker has, her family or state has, and we've tried to buy that property forever. This is the Ozark housing development, which is available to the city or the school system if we have the right use for it. So as a part of this project, Dale Mose is right here, and he has a vacant lot right here. We're wanting to go back up to Dale's property and attempt to do an access road that runs parallel to 231 down through this property, all the way to Adelaar Parker's property, so that one day if we can get our hands on this, it'll open up to this property here. So that's the property that we actually bought. It was A, B, and C. It's a total of 77 acres. This is what we envisioned on the Roy Parker Road side. It's having some lots over here, and on the Roy Parker Road side, it'll most likely be just the 4 lots across the front. We also picked up 3 billboards that we own on that property. That's 10.26 acres, so it's a long distance across there. So that is the map that we're using to clear the property that keeps us out of the wetlands, and that was awarded to Hilton Cooper, who will be starting on that any time now. This is just some shots that we're showing where we're going to clear and leave all these large trees, and then we're going to look at it and assess what we have to take out. We're going to try to leave and work around as much of it as we can. There's 2 buildings on the property. We've already abated the asbestos siding and removed it on the house there. There's another like a pole barn deal. We've not decided if we're going to tear them down or try to redo them. That house is very, very nice on the inside, but we don't know what our usage would be at this point. We're going to keep working on it. This is just a shot that shows kind of a view across the property there, and it's a great piece of property. This is going back to where I talk about the access roads. I mean, the turn lanes here, the access road would run through here. We also have an issue on 231 and 27 right here. We've had 25 accidents here in the last 2 years, 1 fatality and 1 kid was in trout. So we've met with state DOT, and I've asked them to do a trip 2 funding project and incorporate all this together. They're all about cleaning up these intersections and these turn lanes, so we feel real good about that, but that's under review right now with the state. This is something that when we were in conference back in May, you did a little QR code on your phone, and they asked you that question across the top. They asked a lot of questions, but what would be wonderful for our community to achieve, and you can see in the middle, the largest thing there, other than lottery, was sports complex. But that just shows you what a big deal that is across the state. Last Friday night, I'm sitting in a restaurant, and I get a text from the supervisor that's with this SMC. They're the ones that did all the topo work, the surveying, and everything on the property. And you can see his comment here about how nice the property is on Roy Parker. Great asset for the city, and be such a great spot for sports complex. You know, we have had a lot of negative about it being a swamp, wetlands, and that kind of stuff, but I think they know better. So, what's happening since we've announced this is I've had one company reach out and said, I need 8 acres close to the sports complex. So we actually have a 14-acre tract, 5.7, and a 4-acre tract. Sewage already running through it, water on it. So we're working with them to try to put something together there. All right, this is a final 2 or 3 slides. Between 21 and 25, and I just want to show you that we can afford this sports complex. From 21 to 25, we've done over 50 city projects and programs that's been funded partially or fully funded through grants and donations. We have a bulletin that has all that laid out there. Before I became mayor, I knew I was going to want to do some things that were going to make a difference, was going to cost some of us additional money. One was taking our employees from a tier 2 back to a tier 1 system. So I started looking at things that would save us money over time. So I reached out to Brian Spears with Fraser Lanier about this bond that we had with the city at that time, and started having him run numbers on it. So right after I got in office, went to the council and I said, I'd like to redo that bond issue, and it was at a much higher rate than what we had an opportunity to do it at. So we refinanced that bond at that time, and Brian Spears walked into my office when we were doing it one day, and he said, Mayor, you got $472,000 you can spend on the capital outlay project. I said, but Brian, I don't want to spend it, I want to apply it back to the loan. And he said, the only way you can do that is do it over the life of the loan, and just whatever your payment was, it's lowered each month by that amount. I said, that's exactly what I want. He said, cities and counties don't do that. I said, but good business folks do. So that's what we did, is save the city $472,000. This is just a few of the things that we've done that have been big ticket items. Most of this renovation money on the library, we did get donations and grants. The farmers market the same way. Going back to the corporate hangar, we had accumulated $600 and some odd thousand, and we were going to finance the rest of it. When we got around to it, Chris Peters doesn't like to spend money, but he likes to borrow money less than he likes to spend it. So we looked at our money, we looked at our reserves, and we said, why don't we just pay the balance of the project and take the money that we get in from the FAA and pay ourselves back. So that's what we wound up doing on that corporate hangar. The access road was funded through HCUP money. ADA playground was funded through a grant. The fire department, and y'all are going to believe what I'm about to tell you, but that's 2 fire trucks and some other equipment. That's 2 1997 trucks that we're replacing. We're still waiting on one to be here in August, we hope, the ladder truck. The Civic Center, this started out as a energy services project with the Southern Company and Alabama Power. And the way that was going to work was we were going to do the work, they would do the financing, so you didn't have to do a bond issue, and we basically pay it through the power bill. Same thing happened there. By the time we got it done, that was about a 2-year project. Interest rates had gone up to the point, Chris and I sat down again and we said, hey, we got the money, we can just pay for it. So we paid that $1.8 million renovation of the Civic Center. Over in Everett Park, we totally redid the gym out there, rubber flooring and all, we paid for that. Eastgate Gym. And then over there, we did the tennis courts, the fence, and then the big playground that was there. We paid the $149. I want you to keep these numbers in mind. When you take the corporate hangar investment, the fire department investment, Civic Center, Open Everett, and Eastgate, that's right at $4.9 million. That we will have that expense for many, many years to come. If we had not done it, we had not done those things, we still drive our 97 trucks around, we would be sitting on almost $9 million in reserve. We've grown this city reserve since 2000 to 25, from $750,000 to $4 million, after we've spent $4.9 million in doing those things. I want to go back to this just a second. This is just showing all the work that we've done on the Holman House. I didn't list that stuff. We're working on the 3rd museum here. We've painted, we just put in a new elevator here, roof. We're doing work in the basement. All of that work in the Civic Center was lighting, sound, stage, and lights, air conditioning. Since 1975, nothing had been done to that Civic Center except just minor things. That was 6 90-ton units we changed out on top of that building. So this is the tennis court project that's underway now. We didn't show that on there either, and we are paying a part of that. That's the 50-50 ADECA match money. Again, 2.5 years to pull this project off. And Jackie Murphy was my grant writer that was working with us, and she came down with a very rare cancer. And I wound up executor of her estate and handling her will and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, when she went to have her will done, she brought it back to me one day and she said, look who's getting all my money when I leave, when I die. And wound up, she left it to the city of Ozark for me to use anywhere I wanted. So $236,000 of that $786 is Miss Jackie Griffin is paying for. So we're probably the time we do in-kind service and that, we'll have roughly $1,000 of general fund money tied for this project. That did take 44 minutes. But I'll be glad to try to answer anybody's questions, but there's a lot of things that's going on that's not up here. We are wide open every day working on projects that you just can't, when you do these presentations, you just can't keep pouring it out there. But few cities our size is sitting with $4 million in reserve, I can tell you that. The bond issue thing I talked about, where we put the money back in, that's never been done in Ozark's history. they've always bought police cars, and they've always invested in some street paving project or something that they had going on. But it did lower our expense on that bond, so. Anybody got questions? Right.
Some of you know it, and some of you do not know it. I served on the council for 9 years up until 5 years ago. And I can honestly say that I don't remember in my memory or in the 9 years that I served on the council that this particular administration has done the things they've done for the city and maintained our debt level as little as it has without increasing any debt whatsoever. That takes management, that takes vision, and it takes somebody who's willing to know what is out there that we can bring into our community. And I think our mayor and our city council have done a tremendous job of doing that. And I just want to say that.
Yeah, I see the reserves for me, and Frank mentioned a little debt, but what is the debt of the city?
That's a question I didn't total it all up. It's, I would say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7 million. And it's so hard to keep up with because some of those bonds are done. You might be rocking along here with a payment of $250,000 on a bond issue, and one over here pays off, well, this one may go up. They got them designed to do that. So
Let's go on that, right?
we could have paid off our debt but it's at roughly 2%. So it's a lot more beneficial for me to spend 1.8 million on the Civic Center and get it up to code than to do that. So that's kind of how we look at it.
I want to ask a question, Mark. What is a long term? How long does these bonds go out to now? Did you increase the length of the bond?
One goes to 34, one to 31.
You did not, but you didn't increase that when you
No.
did the refund. That's fantastic. I served on the council 28 years, and I tell you, we had great mayors, and I'm telling you, it's a pleasure to work with each and every one of them. But nobody has been able to do our financing like this. 28 years, you have to have a budget. If you do a budget, you've got to have a positive budget to see it. Am I right? All right. We used to have to move money around to show a positive budget to present to the city council. And I think I'm believing the money that you've been able to accumulate for this city and the projects that you've done. Fire trucks used to be in a bond issue. We couldn't buy them any other way, garbage truck. But I just want to commend the council and the mayor for the job they've done to get us where we are in this city. It's unbelievable, really and truly.
Well, our department heads,
Well, there ain't no question about it.
they do a great job. Chris does a great job keeping them under control, but the most difficult part of government now is it's so hard to budget. We had some things not long ago where we had some line items at month 5 or 6, we were already blown through that budget. But you have a truck go down and a part's $10,000, and 2 or 3 days later there's another one that's $10,000. It doesn't take long to wipe that line item out, and that's what we face.
Mayor, can I ask you to explain a little bit more about that? Because there's a lot of people out there that are speaking negatively about those budget items those line items that are over budget. Can you go a little bit more into detail so people have a better explanation of why those things are happening and how that affects the overall budget that we're looking at?
That's what is so misleading, and that's why I hated to see that come up in a city council meeting, because yes, a budget's there for a purpose. Now, all that is a roadmap. This is what revenue we think we're going to have coming in, and this is how we plan on spending it. So let's just say Ryan Campbell's budget and the street department is $3 million. I don't remember exactly what it is. Really, that's the only number that matters. Is he keeping Ryan within that $3 million? But we don't have it that way on our paperwork. We have it every little item laid out there. So say automotive repairs would be a line item. Well, at the top of our budget sheet for whatever month it is, it'll tell us that we need to be 35% of that budget. So it's easy for me to look at and study it. So when I see something that's supposed to be 35 and we've already spent 55 or 60, that raises a red flag. What's going on? But at the end of the day, as long as I look down at the bottom of Ryan's sheet and I see that his overall budget is within that percentage range, I'm okay with it, because I know Ryan and I can move money around. Now, our accountant is not that easily influenced. He wants it done by the book. but that's really how it works. So when Ryan was over on a couple of things that we had no control over, at the end of the day, he still was good. And at the end of the day, our overall budget is good. But I was talking to one of the local communities, bigger communities this week, to the guy that kind of runs their finances there. He said their revenues were extremely flat. He said they've been seeing it for months and months and months. We've had 1 month that we fell behind last year this time. The rest of ours has continued to be up. And I told him, I said, what's driving that is all the small cities that are shopping online rather than going to the places in Dothan and buying or Enterprise and buying. And that's the reason we're continuing to look good. So. But Christine, I don't know if that answers your question.
You did on one side, there was another department, the Department of Parks and Recs, that was also had some issues with their budget. Can you explain what was going on with that?
I don't know that I remember all the details on it. It was
the roof on the repaired roof on the east gate.
okay. Yeah, well, see,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
that would be a capital expense that we didn't have budgeted. So, I mean, that's just one of those things, you pull it out of reserve and keep going. But we had to fix that roof because it was leaking pretty bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what that was.
Thank you so much.
There's been several discussions on the, bringing this sports complex in. And there's a lot of people that think it's not beneficial. And I, for one, can see the benefit of it. Can you explain what this will do to our economy if this sports complex is created and what it will do for the citizens of Ozark?
Well, you don't have to go too far. 2 weekends ago, we had 46 softball teams here at Ozark at a discount. That is a lot of people. We had every hotel in Troy, Ozark, and Enterprise full from that event. Brought in lots of money, had folks eating here. Every city that you talk to, every time I go to any kind of league meeting, we sit around the tables with like-sized cities. Number one thing everybody's looking at, trying to do things to pull people in there. Yesterday I was in Dothan. I went to Dothan's pickleball court groundbreaking. And, that they were singing the same thing about this huge 25 court, and they had invited me because we had been kind of an inspiration to them with what we did with ours. But that's a prime example. That pickleball complex down there. There's people still driving here from Troy and Enterprise and all over the place coming here playing pickleball. So. But it's just, it's going to cost us to get another hotel when we build it, more restaurants, and the thing about it, like those out parcels out there that we own, we have the ability to give those away if we need to. If the right kind of restaurant comes along or the right kind of hotel chain comes along, I mean, we can do lots of things to incentivize them, get them to come. And the one thing that I told you was looking for the 8 acres, it set the woods on fire if we can pull that off. Because the closest one to it would be Panama City.
Oh, wow.
Eric.
First of all, congratulations. That's incredibly impressive, and I want to echo what you've been hearing from the others. Do you keep track of hookups for electrical and phones in the county? Have you followed the numbers in terms of whether or not we're getting new hookups?
I have no way of tracking it. I mean, I get all the housing starts and that kind of stuff, all the renovation projects, all that comes across my desk, so I know where all that is. not electric.
I think a lot of the issues surrounding the sports complex, just from my perspective and what I've been hearing from other citizens, is they feel like, why do we need it? What's important about it? So do you have any type of plan in place in the future to engage the citizenry in the decisions like this? So we can all hear straight from the mayor's mouth exactly what the
All right,
plan is.
Let me tell you how this process has to work. We just got through flying this with a drone. The drone is flying it in a pattern where it's measuring from where that drone is set to the ground. So they go back then and they map that out. I even know how deep the pond is. So they go back and they map that out, and they will then take it and they will determine what sections of that property that we can flatten out enough to build, say, a 4-diamond baseball complex. It may step up and move over and we have another flat spot. We have to get that laid out. Once we get that laid out, then we plan on sitting down and saying, okay, what are we going to build? I know we'll build baseball, I know we'll build soccer and softball, but what else are we going to put there? So that's how that works. Is you got to figure out what you got room for and make it work. They did the exact same thing in Ozark, and I went over and looked at that complex. Very similar, except they got a 45-acre lake in the middle of theirs, which is gorgeous, but they did it basically the same way. Right.
Mark, we're just one of many communities in about a 100-mile radius that are building new sports complexes. Isn't that true? You got Brundage, you had Troy, you've got Dothan, you've got Enterprise, you've got McFall. And it's been a central situation involving communities in order to pull people and pull people into the community, but also give its residents a better opportunity to enjoy those particular things in their community and their children as well.
Yes, sir.
Are you doing anything for surveillance systems roadside? I know Dothan has implemented lock security systems.
Well, I can't understand what you're saying.
Roadside surveillance systems.
Like red light cameras?
I guess I don't know how to explain it.
Are you talking about
Traffic cameras?
cameras on the red light?
No, they're, I forget.
They're talking about like what they have down in Florida where you can see like if an accident happens and things like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So they're not to try to catch people, running red lights. They're surveillance systems, so like if along 27 or something, if an accident happens in those areas where there's not, houses or anything, you'd be able to see, this happening.
We have not done anything. Heather, I forget anything.
Yeah, but you can do it within a city too.
Mayor, for those people that question your line budget, an overage or an underage, and it can be both. I don't think they'll ever own a business or certainly manage a business, particularly in terms of real estate, which I've been involved in. If you could project where your expenditures were going to be, the roof, the water system under the parking lot, all the hundreds of items that could be an expenditure during a given year, you wouldn't be in Ozark, Alabama. I'm not sure where you'd be. You wouldn't be working. But these things are guidelines. And as you said, the bottom line is how you come out. And sometimes, if you look at what's just happening in Texas, that bottom whole thing gets wiped out. But budgeting, particularly in line budgeting, is very difficult to do, and there's no one in the world that's going to get it 100%. I'll bet my Social Security. But I think the city's done an annual job in their budget, and what they do. I congratulate them.
Let me add this, and I know Frank and Brenda both can echo this. when I was on the city council, when we started to do the budget, and I mean, we did not have money. We'd have budget meeting after budget meeting after budget meeting, and it was just a constant hassle trying to get that budget approved. For the last 4 years, we put that budget together, the department heads submit their stuff together, Chris works on it, it comes to me to look at, and we carried it to the council and it was approved the first time, all 4 years. So that's a big improvement from what it used to be. And you know, we don't try to inflate it or do anything like that, we just try to do what we got to do, and we'll pull out of reserves if we have to. Luke?
Mark, you know, you hear a lot about the kids don't have anywhere to go. They don't have anything to do. And I'm just amazed that people would want to take issue to have a complex that you can make it what you want it to be, you know, based on what the citizenry wants. And they try to overcomplicate it. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of you people probably don't know that when Mark first got in office, he took a survey of every piece of property on the north side of 231 all the way back down. And you would be amazed at the information he found out. And so much of it just looked terrible. It looked like a junkyard. No, you know, if you don't want to use it, sell it. I mean, no piece of property just sits there not doing anything. It's not any good to anyone. It's a form of idolatry. But the bottom line on it is that Mark has a vision, and he has laid it out, and he's got an incredible amount of experience in the business world. And I've dealt with him personally on issues, and I'm an advocate of his, but he has taken all his experience in the county and the city area, plus his business, his economic, and he knows what he's doing. And if he has suggestions, you know, go up there and talk to him. But, you know, a good idea is a good idea, but you have to all put everything in priority. But right now, growth is the key thing that we're looking for here. And so that's what we ought to be doing, and we ought to be supporting. And you can vote whoever you want to vote for, but I take the guy with the experience. I've been leading troops for a long time in the military. And you go with the one that knows what he's doing as a leader. That's what you do. You don't put anyone in jeopardy.
Let me go back. I didn't give Odette enough credit. I got Holly Smith, Denise Ellis. Denise works 50% for Odette, 50% for me. She manages the airport and runs everything Ozark. And then we got Lisa Doster out there. But they do a great job. They work great as a team. We took them out of the business incubator right after I became mayor and put them up in the airport, so we always have staff there. But they do a great job. The rest of my crew, for the most part, is off on Fridays, so that's normally the day I go out and sit down and go over projects with them and try to figure out, you know, what we got going on. So, but Holly is doing an outstanding job, very well known all over the state, and we're lucky to have her.
What time frame are we looking at for the sports complex and all the additional things that are?
Well, what we'll have to do is get it cleared. They finish up the paperwork of what we can put there, and then we got to figure out what we're going to build, and then we'll have to get prices up, and we'll have to do a bond issue to build this project. Because if I had to guess, I'd say this is going to be a $12 to $15 million project.
So what is the time?
I don't know. It's just, you know, we're making pretty good progress from the time we bought it to, we've got it set up to clear. We've already got all the survey and topo work done. It's coming along pretty good.
Mark, is there any grant money for that?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. As soon as that hit the media, I had a national foundation contact me. And Heather and I have already had one phone call with them, and they are a national naming foundation. So when you research and look at them, it's all the big boy money, the Bill Gates money, you know, all these huge companies. And they've done one project in Alabama, and that's in North Alabama. So I would really like to be able to do that. But I mean, when I talked to them first time, they said, we're talking millions of dollars in funding, so.
So Mark, I have two questions for you. One, Crenshaw County, their sports complex that they had planned, it's been over 4 years. There's been very little development with that sports complex. I mean, they've got like an RV park kind of set up, and they've got their lake and their walking trail, but they don't really have a whole lot more out there.
And that Wayne Construction they just won the bid about a month or so ago.
Okay.
They're working on the project.
Okay. Well, it has been 4 years, and that's slow for people who are anxious for this to start happening, to see things happen.
And let me add this, I went and visited the brain person behind that, that's the probate judge. And the county commission is handling that project because,
It's in the county. It's
Crenshaw
not in the
County is
city.
13,000 people.
Right.
Crenshaw County is smaller than Ozark, so they had to do it from the county level. And that's been one of the things, is them trying to get funding in place because
Right.
they are so small.
So that's what their holdup has been, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then my other question is, when you get past the point of surveying and determining what you have space for, will you hold a public meeting so that people can give you their input on what they would like to see? Because not all kids want to play ball. There are some kids who want to skate. There are some kids, that they you could have an outdoor roller skating park. You could have an outdoor skate park, or, I'm sorry, Brittany, what was it you said?
Swim.
Swim,
We already
yes.
have a pool, yes, but.
Yes,
so
we
much
have
room.
one pool.
Space.
And, I mean, in a community of over 14,000 and 29,000 for our, what is it? Yes.
Our daytime population.
Our daytime population. One swimming pool is not going to be enough. So we, looking at those options, we probably would want to have a public meeting to hear from those people. So
And we will
is
do
that
that.
something you would want to do?
The thing everybody needs to know is, I may not live long enough to build this thing completely out. And that's just like where I went yesterday, where they're doing the pickleball complex. That's a second phase of Riverview Stadium, and it's been there all my life. But they're building it right to next to it. I mean, there may be some undeveloped parcels of this that's left for some later date for people to do something. There might be something else come along like pickleball. They said yesterday 40 million people in the United States are playing pickleball.
They play it in prison too.
Do I?
They play it in prison.